I just want to make a kind of a disclaimer. I don't, I don't think I have really something to impart to you. And there's nothing that I know which you don't know. I mean, I think you know much more uh, because you are immersed in a sense. Many of you are, because I see many old friends also, uh, where we often met in Nirodda's tea party. Um, so I feel many of you are immersed in Sri Aurobindo and the mother. My immersion has kind of now become a little peripheral. I don't know. There was a time when we were thoroughly immersed, and then no, I am. No, I am Dev's senior in the ashram. That's the most easiest. That's the easiest introduction. I went to Pondicherry at the age of 2. I mean, rather I was taken because Nolinida wanted me to have my education there. My great grandfather was Upendranath Banerjee, who was one of the accused in the Alipur bomb case. And if you read Tales of Prison Life, he had that weird question that he would always ask very weird questions to Sri Aurobindo. One of the weird questions in jail was, why is your hair glowing? Do you apply oil? We don't have oil supply. From where do you get it? So Sri Aurobindo said, no, if you are in the yoga, the body starts having certain mutations and changes. That's why. And then he was transported to 10 years to the cellular jail. Upendranath was with Barin Ghosh, Ullaskar Dutt, part of the first batch of political prisoners who were deported to the Andamans. And like Barinda also had written, Upendranath also had written Tales of an Exile in Bangla, which became a classic in Bengali literature. And it was compulsory reading in Shantiniketan. Tagore had made it compulsory reading. After 10 years, after his release, he came back. He joined C.R. Das and then Subhash Bose. And then again, he was imprisoned for 3 years. And then he became close to Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. And till the end of his life, he edited one of the leading Bangla dailies of that period and was known as a very well-known writer and essayist. So all the Jugantar editorials that you must have read, many of them, most of them are in Bangla, of course. The Jugantar editorials used to be jointly written by Barin Ghosh and Upendranath Banerjee. So all the radical revolutionary theories that were propounded through Jugantar, he did. And in the Maniktala Garden House, he was responsible for teaching, for imparting, quote unquote, what would be called a religious dash communal education. He taught the Gita and he taught, you know, quote unquote, I said. So, so that's how I went. We had the connection with Pondicherry. I went there. I studied, and I was fortunate to have Nirodda as my teacher, Professor Arabinda Basu as my teacher, the great Jugalda as my teacher, and so 20 years I lived there. I don't claim to be the best product because there are much better ones than me, but it's just that I imbibe something. So that's the introduction in a sense. I'm extremely grateful to Parthoda because he kept at it. I was trying to, it was becoming a little difficult, and so I spent the evening yesterday about 3 hours, finally after a long time, just getting back my thoughts, reading and whatever little one can try and understand of Sri Aurobindo. I think there was a teacher in Pondicherry who would tell us that you start understanding Sri Aurobindo only after you are 40. So I'm coming round to that view, that you start having a faint understanding of Sri Aurobindo perhaps only after you're 40. But that doesn't apply to people who are there. It applies to us who are outside, I believe. So thank you. I'm very grateful that you insisted that I come and speak. But again, I really don't know what can I really speak about Sri Aurobindo and the vision of India's future or the future of India. Because it is my reading of Sri Aurobindo. All of us have our readings, our reading and our understanding of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. There is no imposition. I don't impose my reading on you and vice versa. Each of us are exploring, and in our own sphere of life and action, we are trying to discover his vision. For me particularly, I think that undivided map of India in the playground, before which we saluted every day, we paid obeisance and reaffirmed our faith. I think that made a difference to my thinking, to my growing up. And since the early years in the ashram, I always felt that I needed to do something different. And that is what I have been trying to do for the last 2 decades, a little more than 2 decades since I passed out of the ashram. Nirodha asked me a question one day after I left. He was I think, the only person who asked me a very pointed question. He said, "Why did you leave?" This is the question he asked me. So I told him, because I want to work for India. Then he replied, he said, "Then I have nothing to say." So I think I made the right decision. And according to what Sri Aurobindo says, my Swadharma, my own propensity, my aspirations, because I remember Pranab Bhattacharya used to always tell me, I would say that I have this ambition to serve the country. And he would tell me, you have to have the aspiration to serve India. And so I say that it is that aspiration which drives me. And I try to feel Sri Aurobindo. I try to sense him, the mother's assertion to Sudhirda that from now on India is my responsibility. And if I may share a very interesting vision. No, it was a dream rather. I mean, I hope we have some time, and if you feel that I'm rambling, you can stop me. I can obviously, I can give a formal lecture also if you want. So, when in December, towards the end of December, when all these anti-CAA protests were going around the country, and Monada had passed away. So I saw very clearly one night that he's standing there in the playground, in the sports ground, in front of mother's chair, and he chanted Vande Mataram thrice. And he turned around and told me that things are going to get back to normal. This is the churning. Clearly, I told Anupama after that, Monada, yes. It's very interesting, and so, to think that mother had told his father that India is my responsibility. There was a time when Sudhirda was very upset because there was a lot of violence and clashes all over India. So he visited the mother in her room on the 2nd floor, and he looked very depressed. And when mother asked him, she said, from now on, India is my responsibility. So if India is her responsibility, then I think it is all our responsibility to do our bit. And I believe that is why you have all gathered here. From what I heard yesterday, that there's a very genuine feeling amongst all of you that we need to do our bit. We need to achieve whatever we are doing. We need to achieve certain milestones, some amount of perfection, impart some amount of direction. after all, then India can go forward, and it is her responsibility. When mother was asked, I think she, after nearly 55 years in Pondicherry, somebody asked her, that conversation is there. I never really remember the references, but one has to sit and find out. Then, so somebody asked the mother that, is the success of your work dependent on us? And mother replied in French, heureusement pas. Fortunately, no. Huh? So that is also very clear. India's evolution, what she has, what he has envisaged for her is going to happen. But is it like your hand on the chariot of Jagannath? Are we going to place our hand on the chariot of Jagannath and push it so that at the end of the day, we can say, we too did our bit? I think as far as Mother and Sri Aurobindo and their vision of India is concerned, we ask ourselves, are we too doing our bit? I'm doing my bit, however imperfectly, however marginally, or whatever it is. But I'm sure all of you are doing it much more in your sphere. And I think on that we are all agreed. I think there's no division on that. Now, I want to narrate another very interesting thing. Often there's this propensity amongst some and I say that I am a bhakt, I am a believer. It's not that it's not that I don't believe in Sri Aurobindo. I feel we can all be Vishnu Bhakt, Shiva Bhakts also, and be Bhakts of Sri Aurobindo also. Bhakt is the cool word nowadays, isn't it? So you get trolled also for being a Bhakt. It's very interesting that there is a tendency amongst some, and I've noticed this even in the ashram, in the larger Sri Aurobindo community. Oh no, we are beyond religion. Religion, no. Yeah, no, that's fine. But Sri Aurobindo himself has written why religion is needed, why you require an anchor. And believe me, I have seen, studied, analyzed, gone through an entire stack of letters in Mother's own handwriting, her correspondence with the priest of the Rameshwaram temple. Fantastic. The experiences that she was undergoing, the kind of meditation and power that he was exchanging with the mother. And you get to realize in the deeper essence, what is the kernel, or as Amal would call it, Amal Kiran would call it, the kernel of religion or the kernel of Hinduism is. So I think it's very difficult to be judgmental. Mother had said this, yes, but then there's an entire stack of letters of hers with the priest of Rameshwaram, of the Rameshwaram temple. I had handed it over to Peter. I hope it has found its way in the archives. It's there. So these are very interesting things. I think when it comes to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, we need to have a hugely open mind and not because Mother herself would contradict, often. Like if they went and met her, she would say something. If I went and met her, she would say, on the same issue, she would have said something different, perhaps absolutely opposite. But there was a tremendous connect that you could feel, and this is the 100th year of her final arrival in India. There was a tremendous, not even connect, there was a tremendous identity with what Bharat was. When she says, India is like Shiva. It's like when Sri Aurobindo says that I see Vasudeva, even in the rods of the jail. And when Mother says India is like Shiva, she has experienced, she has identified, as she would say, connaissance par identité, knowledge through identity. She herself lived that.